Hello there. Today we follow Katherine Johnson, a brilliant mathematician whose careful numbers help people trust the path to space. Her story is not about one person working alone. It is about a mind prepared by discipline, a team that needed precision, and a woman who kept proving that her work belonged in the room. Chapter 1. The Girl Who Counted Everything. Katherine Coleman was born in 1918 in White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. From the beginning, numbers felt natural to her. Some children notice colors first. Some notice music. Katherine noticed patterns. She counted steps. She counted dishes. She counted the stars she could see. The world seemed to speak to her in order, shape, and distance. Her family saw her gift early. This mattered, because a gift can disappear when no one protects it. A child may love learning, but the world must still make a path for that learning to grow. Katherine's parents believed education was important. They made sacrifices so their children could study. When local schools did not offer enough years for black students, her family found a way for her to continue. That choice changed her life. In the classroom, Katherine moved quickly. She was not only good at arithmetic, she loved the logic behind it. She wanted to know why a number worked, why a line turned, why a shape could describe motion. Teachers noticed her. One of them was a respected mathematician, Dr. W. W. Schieffelin Clater. He saw that Katherine could do more than repeat lessons. She could think like a mathematician. He encouraged her, challenged her, and helped her see a future that was larger than the usual expectations around her. Katherine graduated from college at a young age. She studied mathematics and French. She was sharp, serious, and curious. But talent does not remove every barrier. For a black woman in America during that time, doors did not open easily. There were rules, habits, and unfair systems that tried to decide where she could sit, where she could work, and how far she could go. Katherine did not pretend those barriers were small. But she also did not let them define the size of her mind. Chapter 2. A Mind Ready for Work. After college, Katherine became a teacher. Teaching was respected work, and it allowed her to use her knowledge. But part of her still wanted deeper mathematical challenges. She married, raised a family, and lived through years when opportunity did not move quickly. Her life was not a straight line from school to space. It had pauses, responsibilities, and personal loss. Like many people, she carried private challenges while the world saw only the public facts. Then a new door began to open. During the mid-20th century, flight research was growing fast. The United States needed people who could do complex calculations. Before modern digital computers became trusted tools, many calculations were done by human computers, people, often women, who worked carefully with numbers. Katherine applied to work at the Research Center in Hampton, Virginia, then connected with NACA, the organization that later became part of NASA. She joined a group of black women mathematicians who worked in a segregated office. Their work was important, but the system around them was unequal. They had to be excellent in a place that did not always treat them with the respect they deserved. Katherine brought more than skill. She brought a habit of asking questions. If a meeting discussed a calculation, she wanted to understand the whole problem. If a number was used, she wanted to know where it came from. If a path was drawn, she wanted to know what it meant. This was not arrogance. It was responsibility. When human lives may depend on a calculation, a person cannot be satisfied with half understanding. Precision is not only a technical value, it is a moral value. It says, I care enough to be exact. Katherine's mind was ready for that kind of work. She had trained for years without knowing exactly where the training would lead. Then history began to move toward her desk. Chapter 3. The Room Where Questions Mattered. At Langley, Catherine's work connected mathematics to flight. Airplanes, rockets, and spacecraft all follow paths. Those paths are shaped by speed, gravity, angle, fuel, time, and distance. The math can become complex, but the human question is simple. How do we get there safely? Katherine worked with engineers who needed reliable answers. She calculated trajectories, checked results, and helped solve problems where small mistakes could become serious. In many rooms, she was different from the people who had traditionally been invited there. She was a woman in a male-dominated field. She was a black woman in a segregated society. She was a mathematician whose work was essential, even when recognition came slowly. But Katherine did not enter the room as a symbol. She entered with work to do. Her confidence was quiet and practical. She did not need to make every moment dramatic. She needed the numbers to be right. Still, courage was required. Asking questions can be risky when people expect silence. Entering meetings can be difficult when no one has invited someone like you before. Signing your name on reports can matter when the habit of the workplace says that some people stay invisible. Katherine kept moving forward. She understood that respect often grows when excellent work becomes impossible to ignore. That does not make unfairness acceptable. It simply shows the strength required from people who have to work twice as hard to be seen clearly. Her colleagues began to trust her calculations. They saw her accuracy. They saw her memory. They saw that she could understand a problem quickly and explain it clearly. In spaceflight, trust is not a soft feeling. Trust is built from proof, and Katherine kept giving proof. Chapter 4: When Space Needed Certainty. The space race brought pressure to NASA. The world was watching. Engineers were designing new missions. Astronauts were preparing to leave Earth in machines that had to work under extreme conditions. This was not a place for careless thinking. A rocket launch is powerful, but power alone is not enough. A spacecraft needs a path. It needs to know when to rise, when to turn, when to separate, when to return, and where it should land. The public may see fire under a rocket. Inside the mission, people see numbers. Katherine worked on calculations connected to early crewed space missions. Her work helped teams understand flight paths and safe returns. She was part of a larger effort, but her contribution became especially respected because of her precision. One famous moment involved astronaut John Glenn. Before his orbital flight, electronic computers were becoming more important. But trust in machines was still growing. Glenn reportedly wanted Katherine to check the computer's numbers before he flew. The request says something powerful. It was not only about math. It was about confidence. When a person is about to risk his life, he wants to know that the path has been checked by someone he trusts. Katherine did not make the rocket. She did not sit in the capsule. She did not stand before cameras as the face of the mission. But her calculations help support the invisible structure beneath the visible event. Every great mission has that kind of structure. The person who checks the numbers, the person who tests the material, the person who listens for a strange sound, the person who asks one more question before everyone says yes. History often remembers the launch, but safety is built before the launch. Chapter 5: The Power of Exact Work. Katherine's work continued beyond one mission. She contributed to calculations for important space programs, including work connected to paths to the moon and safe return planning. Her role was part of a team, and that team included many people with different skills. This is important to say clearly. Katherine Johnson did not change space exploration by magic, and she did not do it alone. Her power came from exact work inside a larger mission. That makes her story more impressive. not less. Real achievement is often shared. It is built by people who do their part so well that the whole system can move forward. Katherine's part required patience. A calculation can be beautiful, but it can also be demanding. One wrong sign, one wrong angle, one wrong assumption can change everything. Precision asks for focus, even when the work becomes repetitive. It asks a person to care when no one is clapping. That is a lesson many people need. Some work is visible, some work is hidden. Visible work gets applause quickly. Hidden work may get only silence, but it can still carry the weight of the whole story. Katherine seemed to understand this. She did not need every moment to be public. She needed the work to be correct. There is a quiet dignity in that. It is the dignity of a person who knows the value of her contribution before the world fully understands it. And over time, the world began to understand more. Chapter 6. Recognition came later. For many years, Katherine Johnson's name was not known by the general public. This does not mean her work was unimportant. It means that recognition often arrives late, especially for people who worked behind the scenes and faced unfair barriers. Later in life, Katherine received major honors. She became a symbol of excellence, perseverance, and the hidden history of women in science and mathematics. But the most meaningful part of recognition is not fame by itself. Recognition can repair part of the record. It can tell young students, people like you were there, people like you helped build this, people like you belong in difficult rooms. Katherine's story gives that message with unusual strength. She was not loud in the way we often imagine heroes. Her courage was steady. She studied. She worked. She asked questions. She checked the numbers. She kept her standards high. That kind of courage can be easy to miss, because it does not always look dramatic. But imagine the pressure. Imagine being expected to stay small while your mind is large. Imagine knowing the answer and still needing the patience to make others hear it. Imagine carrying personal dignity through systems that did not offer equal dignity back. Katherine Johnson's life shows that confidence is not always a speech. Sometimes confidence is a pencil, a page, a clear mind, and the decision to keep going. Chapter 7. What her numbers teach us. Katherine's story is about mathematics, but it is not only for mathematicians. It is for anyone who has ever felt underestimated. It is for anyone who has prepared quietly while waiting for a door to open. It is for anyone whose work matters, even when other people do not see it yet. Her life teaches that preparation is never wasted. The years of study, the careful habits, the questions, the discipline, all of it can become useful when the moment finally arrives. It also teaches that precision can be a form of respect. When Katherine checked a trajectory, she was not only solving a problem on paper, she was helping protect human life. She was helping a team trust its own mission. That is why her story feels so strong. She connects the small and the enormous. A number on a page, a rocket in the sky, a girl counting steps, a nation trying to reach orbit, a quiet office, a path around Earth. The distance between those images is huge, but Katherine's life shows how one disciplined mind can help connect them. She did not need to become someone else to make history. She became deeply herself, curious, exact, prepared, and brave enough to ask for understanding. That is the kind of lesson that lasts beyond any single mission. Chapter 8. The Path She Helped Draw. When people look at space, they often think of wonder. They think of stars, rockets, astronauts, and the blue curve of Earth. But space exploration also depends on quieter things: paper, chalk, formulas, questions, checks, and people who refuse to be careless. Katherine Johnson belonged to that quieter side of wonder. She helped draw paths that others could travel. She helped turn fear into planned motion. She helped make the unknown a little more measurable. That is a beautiful legacy. Not because every detail of her life was easy. It was not. Not because recognition came at the perfect time. It did not. But because she kept doing excellent work anyway. Her story asks us to respect the hidden builders of history. It asks us to look behind the famous photograph and see the people at the desks, in the labs, in the classrooms, and in the rooms where decisions become possible. It also asks a personal question. What are you preparing for, even if no one is watching yet? Katherine Johnson could not know, as a child, counting everything around her, exactly where her numbers would lead. But she followed the gift with discipline. She learned. She practiced. She asked. She checked. And when space required certainty, her mind was ready. Some people change history by standing in front of the world. Others change it by making sure the path is correct before the world moves. This was another story from the English Vault. I will see you in the next one.